Dayun, who pushed him onto the road, leading to an accident with a truck. This incident, however, was part of a dream. Dayun wakes up in a hospital, shaken by the terrifying dream. His body is now disfigured. He has lost his muscular physique and has an ugly scar on his face. As he steps outside the hospital, he meets two guys who were with him when he bullied Dayun. These two inform him that they've tried to gather all the Woojin High guys as per his orders, but only a few have shown up. They explain that some of the others are not coming because they've been running into trouble. They were beaten up by Dayun, and others were also beaten by some guy with a wolf-cut hairstyle. Dayun scolds them, saying that those guys have no pride because they were beaten by a loser. One of the guys informs Dayun that the school has also set up a committee to monitor school violence, so they need to be cautious. This news angers Dayun, and he grabs the guy's jacket, yelling that he is not a patient. He is a victim. He then orders them to kill Dayun. However, the guy pushes Dayun's hand away, causing Dayun to fall to the ground because his body has become so weak after being hospitalized. His legs are trembling, and he accuses them of never even visiting him in the hospital. Dayun then walks away, saying he doesn't need them. One of them asks Dayun if he knows where Dayun is. In the next scene, we see Dayun at Nian's school. He has come to give Nian an umbrella because it might rain while she is at school. His boss instructed him to do so. Nian thanks him and asks why Hangil is also there. Hangil replies that he's there to score some free pizza from Nian. As they walk and chat, Dayun watches them from behind, his entire body trembling. One of Dayun's guys tells him that since Dayun was kicked out of his school, he has started showing up around Jung Ran High. Dayun thinks that Jung Ran High was Il Tak's territory, but his guy informs him that Il Tak was also beaten up and has disappeared. Dayun keeps calling Il Tak, convinced that there's no way Dayun could have beaten him. Still, he chases after Dayun, determined to handle him on his own. Suddenly, in the middle of the street, they see some thugs beating up an old man. Hangil approaches them, and one of the thugs threatens him, telling him to mind his own business. Hangil ignores the threat and continues to stare at them, so one of the thugs tries to punch Hangil. Instead, Hangil punches the thug in the face and tells Dayun to handle the other two guys. Dayun runs toward them and delivers a straight punch to one thug, while on the other side, Hangil kicks another thug in the face. Dayun manages to take down two thugs at once. Seeing this, Dayun is shocked. The injured thugs, recognizing Hangil, say that they can't mess with him and flee the scene. Hangil asks Dayun if he can handle guys like that now, and Dayun agrees. Nian approaches the old man and asks if he's okay. Hangil advises the old man to be careful and not pick any fights, given how dangerous the area is. The old man explains that the thugs were targeting him specifically. They started beating him after confirming his identity. He suspects someone around him instigated the attack. Meanwhile, Dayun, hiding behind a wall, watches them and wonders if Dayun really did beat Il Tak. He realizes that if Dayun has indeed become this strong, his own weakened body won't stand a chance. He notices his trembling hand and realizes it's shaking because of Dayun, the same Dayun who used to be a loser. Suddenly, someone puts a hand on Dayun's shoulder. There's a guy passing by, eating candy, who slaps Dayun and declares that they are bullies. Dayun can't believe he's being punked by such guys. The two demand money and his wallet, but Dayun, fueled by misplaced confidence, punches one of them. However, due to his weakened state, he is easily overpowered, and they start beating him up. One of them puts his foot on Dayun and mocks him for trying to fight back. They kick him repeatedly, angry that he dropped their ice cream. Dayun begs them to let him go, but one of them replies that it's not that simple. They only let him go if he eats the ice cream off the ground. They force Dayun's face near the ice cream, and he remembers how he used to bully Dayun, forcing him to do similar humiliating things. But just as Dayun is about to give in, someone punches one of the bullies, knocking him out. The other guy stands up to fight but is also quickly knocked out. Dayun is shocked and confused by what just happened. It was Dayun who helped him, but Dayun can't see his face because Dayun is wearing a hoodie. Dayun asks if Dayun can stand up, and as Dayun realizes who it is, his entire body starts trembling. In the next scene, in the flashback, we see that Lee Dayun was a fat guy. He was a loner because of his weight. Other kids looked down on him with pity and ridicule. He never spoke up and kept his eyes lowered. Each day was humiliating for him until he started using his fists. As he looked down on those he beat up, he found a new perspective on life and vowed never to go back to how it was before. Ever since then, he never allowed anyone to look down on him. In the present, Dajuin offers him a hand to help him stand up, but Dayun thinks he needs to run quickly. If his identity is revealed, he's dead. He somehow manages to stand up and tries to walk away and run, but he can't because his legs have become weak. Dajuin comes closer to help him, but Dayun is terrified. Suddenly, it starts to rain, and Dayun continues walking. Hangil suggests to Dajuin to let him go because he doesn't look like he needs help. Dajuin notices that Dayun's legs are trembling. Dayun manages to put some distance between himself and Dajuin, thinking that Dajuin isn't following him anymore. He considers bringing more guys later to kill Dajuin. Suddenly, someone puts an umbrella over him. It's Dajuin, offering him protection from the rain. Dajuin tries to be helpful, but Dayun flips out and pushes him back. Dajuin wonders why Dayun is acting like that, even in his condition. Dajuin requests that he at least take the umbrella, but Dayun tells him to get lost. Hearing this, Dajuin is shocked because he hears it quietly, barely audible over the rain. However, it's a voice that instinctively triggers unpleasant and eerie memories for Dajuin. He thinks that maybe it's because of the rain, but that day he begrudgingly lets him go. The rain continues, so Hangil comes under Dajuin's umbrella. After some time, Dayun is far away from them and walking on a highway bridge. Suddenly, his legs give out and he falls to the ground. He reflects on how his early life has come back to haunt him. He then stands on the edge of the bridge and thinks it would have been better if he had never woken up. He just wants to sleep again. On the other side, at Hangil's house, Hangil announces that based on Dajuin's last test and other fights, Dajuin has passed the requirements with good grades. His fighting lessons are officially over, and Hangil appreciates how hard he has worked. Hangil gives him a jacket as a completion gift. All the other members congratulate him and take a photo. Dajuin wears the jacket, but it seems a size too big for him. Dayob tells him that there's no more reason to delay it. All that's left now is for them to go to Wujin High. But Dajuin tells them that it's his own issue, so they don't have to come. He needs to deal with it personally. Dayob replies that it's not just his issue anymore because he's a member of the Hangil family now. Hearing this, Hangil is surprised, and they also tell him that they won't interfere if he's having trouble while fighting. Just give them a signal. Hearing this, Dajuin becomes very happy. After coming out onto the street, he reflects on how much his life has changed. The reason why his once lonely and miserable life has improved to this point is thanks to the Hangil family. He's no longer alone. Now, he just needs to deal with his past. He looks so confident and tells everyone that he will set the date and start his new life. Then, some gossip starts about Hangil's family ranking. On the other side, Dayun is standing on the edge of the highway bridge. He thinks it's all over for him and considers jumping. But suddenly, his phone rings. It's Ayeltak's call. Dayun, not wasting any time, answers the call, and on the other side is Ayeltak's voice. Ayeltak asks Dayun why he's been looking for him so desperately since he woke up. Dayun screams, asking why Ayeltak is only picking up the call now. Ayeltak tells him that Yim Dajuin has put him in a tough spot and that Dajuin has changed a lot. Dayun probably won't be able to do anything against him. Ayeltak assures him that he'll take care of it. Dayun responds that he heard Ayeltak lost to him too, and the guys won't even gather at Jungran. Ayeltak says that doesn't matter anymore. From behind Ayeltak, we see a guy pulling out another guy's teeth, and the guy screams. Dayun asks about that, and Ayeltak replies that he's joined a more interesting group that Jungran High can't even compare to. He's joined a group called Haegwang. These guys will go on a hired assault against anyone as long as they're paid. Dayun asks if that's really possible. Ayeltak replies that they don't just assault people, they also blackmail, kidnap, they'll do anything. The simple thing is, Dayun just needs to get money. Ayeltak plans to use these guys to send Yim Dajuin to hell, and there's no need to feel guilty toward that loser. Hearing this, Dayun changes his mind and decides not to jump off the bridge. He makes the decision to kill Dajuin. In the next scene, in the morning, we see some thugs chasing a guy who is running from them. He is wearing a red cap and carrying a bag. Meanwhile, Dajuin has also left for work, walking on the footpath. He has some free time before heading to work. Ever since the fighting lessons ended, things have been a bit more carefree. The lessons were hard, but he endured them because he had people supporting him, especially Neon. He thinks about thanking her again, and after he gets his revenge, he plans to get closer to her. However, not everything will go as Dajun wants. One thing that's bothering him is the rumor that Haegwang has returned. The Hangil family doesn't know when they will show up. They might target them and those around them. Since the Hangil family decided not to run away, if Haegwang pulls any nonsense, they will show them who they are. After some time, Dajun arrives at a pizza shop and wonders if he can protect the shop now that he's stronger. He opens the door and sees that his boss's hand is fractured and that he seems sad. Dajun asks him about his arm and also if the Haegwang guys were behind it. His boss simply replies, "No." Dajun is desperate because he wants to help him, but his boss says the truth is he just fell while walking. Dajun smiles and asks why he was being so secretive about it. His boss replies that it was embarrassing. It seems like his boss won't be able to work for a while. Dajun then enters the kitchen and is shocked to see the situation inside. He sees that Neon is holding a handsome guy. Seeing this, Dajun feels jealous. Neon explains to Dajun that the guy is a new part-timer while her dad's injury heals. The new guy extends his hand toward Dajun for a handshake. They both shake hands, and the new guy introduces himself as Sungo. He is attractive and younger than Dajun. From Dajun's expression, it's clear he's jealous. The entire day, they both work together. Dajun shows off his pizza-making skills, which shocks Sungo. When Sungo is washing dishes, Dajun insists that he has to wash off all the grease marks. When Sungo accidentally spills drinks on a customer's table, Dajun steps in and handles the situation. Sungo apologizes for his mistakes, but Neon tells him not to worry because he'll get used to it with time. Suddenly, Sungo asks Dajun to join him for a smoke. They both go outside and sit on the floor, and Dajun tells him that he doesn't smoke. Sungo praises Dajun, saying that he's amazing because he works so hard and needs to get better quickly. Looking at Sungo, Dajun thinks that he's having a rough time, and it's his first day at his first job. Sungo is the same age as Jiyeon, Dajun's younger sister. Dajun asks him why he's working part-time when he's so young. Sungo replies that he needs money and is thinking about running away. He explains that there have been a lot of issues with his family and school. Dajun wonders if Sungo has his fair share of troubles and feels ashamed that, as an older person, he's jealous of someone who might get closer to Neon. Dajun tells him that he once ran away from home. Hearing this, Sungo is shocked. Dajun suggests that he might have his own reasons, but he shouldn't take running away so lightly. Just because you run away doesn't mean you're free. You never know what might happen on these dangerous streets. Sungo understands that not running away would be the right choice. Dajun tells him that he's been in situations where things were beyond his control, so he understands he can't entirely say that running away isn't an option. Dajun says he might not be able to do much, but if Sungo has any questions about the runaway life, he can feel free to ask him. Dajun then grabs a cigarette and pretends to smoke, but he's holding it backward. The next day, Dajun comes to the pizza shop and is shocked to see Sungo making pizzas like a professional. He also washes dishes perfectly and behaves well with customers. All the girls who come to the pizza store like Sungo and ask for his number. Seeing this, Neon's dad doesn't regret hiring him because his daughter knows how to pick the right person. But inside, Dajun is jealous and tells himself that he shouldn't be jealous of someone younger than him. Suddenly, Neon puts her hand on Sungo's hair and praises him for getting good so quickly, even though it's only been a day. Seeing this, Dajun becomes more jealous and runs toward the exit door. He goes outside, his body trembling, and wonders how Sungo was able to do it so quickly when it took him so long. He then starts to walk back to the store, but suddenly, someone puts a hand on his shoulder from behind. It's the guy in the red cap we saw earlier. He asks Dajun to hide him somewhere because he's in trouble and got caught quickly. Then we see three guys gathering and talking about breaking his legs. Dajun hides in an alley. After the thugs leave, Dajun approaches the guy and asks why they were chasing him. Instead of replying, the guy tells Dajun that normal people don't know about it. He introduces himself as a member of a famous organization, the Hangil family. Hearing this, Dajun is shocked. But the guy starts saying wrong things about the Hangil family, so Dajun doubts that he's really from the Hangil family and thinks he's just assuming their name to show off. Dajun asks him that if he's part of the strongest Hangil family, then who's chasing him? The red cap guy replies that it's Haegwang. Before Dajun can gather more information from him, the 3 thugs from Haegwang show up behind them. 2 of them start beating the red cap guy, while one comes closer to Dajun and asks who he is and if he knows the guy with the red cap. But Dajun denies it, saying he doesn't know him. Dajun then asks if they're from Haegwang and suddenly grabs the thug's face, pushing him back. He then asks the guy with the red cap why he would go around lying that he's part of the Hangil family. He orders him not to abuse their name from now on and then gets into a fighting position. One guy tells the others that he has seen Dajun before. He was the guy who beat Kyuwang back at the abandoned factory, and that guy was part of the Hangil family. They think they can handle Dajun because they believe he is the weakest one in the Hangil family. But suddenly, Dajun punches one thug and knocks him out with a single punch. The other 2 approach him, but Dajun handles their attacks one by one, dodging them. After fighting a few of Haegwang's members, he realizes that Haegwang has a lot of good fighters. Dajun then performs a counterattack on them and knocks them out. Seeing his strength, they become afraid and run away. The red cap guy, witnessing this, thinks that Dajun is incredibly strong and a true member of the Hangil family. He, too, has been using their name, so he decides he might get beaten up and tries to escape. But Dajun stops him and tells him that Haegwang was chasing him because he was impersonating the Hangil family, yet those guys seem to be avoiding them instead. Dajun asks the red cap guy again why he was really being chased by Haegwang, saying it's better to tell the truth, especially if he doesn't want to pay the price for impersonating them. The guy replies that he was from Haegwang too, but he isn't anymore. Hearing this, Dajun grabs his collar and tries to punch him, but the guy quickly explains that he was betrayed by Haegwang, so Dajun lets him go. The red cap guy then tells Dajun his story. After Chun Ki-woong disappeared, his neighborhood Haegwang changed its methods. They no longer collected money from stores. Instead, they engaged in assault, blackmailing, and kidnapping, acting like a mafia. The red cap guy brings Dajun somewhere behind the bushes. Dajun asks him why he brought him there, and the guy replies that it was the place he came home from work and where he got betrayed. Suddenly, an old man appears, the same one who was attacked the other day. The red cap guy asks Dajun if he knows the man. Dajun replies that he saved him earlier. Dajun then asks the red cap guy who he is. The guy, looking angry about hearing that the old man got attacked, replies that the old man is the district representative of the area, and also his father. We see in the past that the red cap guy ran away and joined Haegwang because of his father. His father kept forcing him to study even though he didn't have the instincts of a top student. At first, his runaway life in Haegwang was fulfilling. He strutted around as they acted like a gang. But after actually witnessing them commit crimes with his own eyes, he realized something. There was nothing attractive about the runaway life. And when the reality of the Haegwang lifestyle hit him, someone commissioned an assault against his father. While Haegwang was investigating him, they discovered that he was the son of the district representative, so they tried to use him to blackmail his father. The red cap guy thought they were like family, but they turned on him in the blink of an eye. Since they had already turned on him, he figured he could get some payback, so he ran away with the money they got for the commissioned assault against his father. The guy is trembling as he tells his story to Dajun. He says that his relationship with his father is already messed up, and he doesn't care if there's a bounty on his head. But Dajun notices that even though he says he doesn't care, his expression says otherwise. He's clearly upset. Dajun tries to offer sympathy but doesn't know what to say about father-son relationships. However, he can say something about a real family, a family that truly cares and worries about him. Dajun tells him that he has to risk his life to protect his father's life. But the guy is terrified and lacks confidence, saying that he wouldn't take a risk for someone who never once thought about him. Dajun then tells him that his father was looking for him earlier when Dajun saved him. He was asking about someone named Jung In-hwan, who turns out to be the red cap guy. Dajun explains that he couldn't recognize him from his school picture, so he couldn't tell him sooner, but his father was definitely looking for him to apologize. Hearing this, In-hwan starts crying and gets emotional. Dajun reflects on In-hwan and Sungo, noting that they are in different situations. One wants to run away, and the other regrets running away. Dajuan assures him that he doesn't know where to start with dealing with his father's issues, but he will help In-hwan. In-hwan still has a chance to make things right. On the other side, we see Chun Ki-woong, a former executive, looking angry and punching a guy. But suddenly, a big muscular guy comes up behind him, grabs his head, and pushes him down. This is Haegwang executive Bae Gangrak. Gangrak asks him about the damage he caused. Hearing this, Ki-woong becomes afraid. Gangrak tells him that he warned him earlier not to mess with the Hangil family and ruin everything, yet Ki-woong didn't listen. Instead of just listening, Ki-woong threatens him, saying that if he's just thrown aside, he'll reveal what he knows. Hearing this, Gangrak kicks him, causing him to fall to the ground. Gangrak tells him that he crossed the line and orders the other guys to deal with him. He then walks over to another Haegwang executive, Han Young-min. Young-min suggests to Gangrak that he should be more careful when working. He might get caught if he's unlucky. But Gangrak tells him that he should be the one to worry since he was the one who strongly supported killing the Hangil family. Young-min then reveals that they have just received a commission to kill the Hangil family. The client was a high school student, and he sounds confident, as if he made a deal with the devil. Young-min asks Gangrak why he opposed killing the Hangil family so much. Gangrak replies that it would be a waste, whether killing them would bring more profit or using them instead. Young-min tells him that he doesn't know how he's calculating that, but if they do this, Ki-woong would be better off than them. Gangrak says that if those guys disagree, they can kill them whenever they want. There's a trap in place, and they've already planted someone among them. We see that Dajuan has been hanging out with Sungo and In-hwan. The spy is one of them. In the evening, at a pizza shop, Dajuan introduces In-hwan to Sungo, but In-hwan says that they already met outside while having a smoke and were already speaking comfortably with each other. Dajuan explains that the reason he is introducing them is because of the runaway situation. In-hwan asks if Sungo wants to run away, and Sungo answers yes. In-hwan points his finger toward Dajuan and tells him not to do it, saying he will just suffer for nothing. He explains that the romance of street life is all a lie. He also tells Sungo that Dajuan only suggested running away if it got really hard, because he was part of the Hangil family. He warns that all the runaways who live in that neighborhood live like trash. In-hwan even suggests that if Sungo really wants to run away, he should join Haegwang. But Dajuan disagrees, and the two start arguing. In-hwan insists that the only chance Sungo has at surviving is with Haegwang. He then asks Sungo why he wants to go out into the streets. We see a flashback of Sungo's past. His family had a peaceful life before his mother passed away in an accident. Her death devastated his father, but he continued to work hard for Sungo's happiness. His father even remarried to try to fill the void left by Sungo's mother. His stepmother treated him like her own child, and he was happy again. But things changed after the baby was born. Now that she had her own child, his stepmother viewed him as an unnecessary concern and was determined to drive a wedge between him and his father. Sungo wanted to tell his father the truth, but he had suffered so much for Sungo's sake, and he looked happier than ever with his new family. Sungo couldn't bear to take that happiness away from him, which is why he was thinking about leaving. He believes they could be a happy family if he weren't there. Sungo asks Dajuan what he should do. Dajuan, uncertain about the situation, tells him that he shouldn't leave his home. He says that if Sungo's father truly cares about him, he wouldn't want him to leave, and that Sungo should take care of himself first. In-hwan also agrees with Dajuan and suggests that they could use some stolen money to get a place and be roommates. Sungo smiles and thanks them for their suggestions. Sungo then asks In-hwan what he plans to do about his father. In-hwan, still thinking about it, says there is no other option but to fight Haegwang. They have more people and are much stronger than them. Dajuan considers telling the Hangil family about In-hwan's situation. Sungo suggests finding the client who commissioned the assault and having them cancel the request. In-hwan remembers something. When he left with the bag, he saw a name written in the ledger. After all the chit-chat, they step outside the pizza shop, and Sungo thanks them for listening to his problems. In-hwan asks Dajuan why he is doing all this for him. Dajuan replies that fellow dwellers help each other out. To Dajuan, both of them seem like good people. But suddenly, In-hwan grabs Dajuan's neck and tells him that he is being too nice. After Dajuan leaves the pizza shop, we hear a call with Gangrak, in which his guy reports that, after observing Dajuan up close, he has concluded that Yim Dajuan is too naive. In the next scene, we see Dajuan at the Hangil family home, telling the entire story of Inhwan to the Hangil family. Dayob understands that in order to save the father of some guy he met on the street, Dajuan needs the help of the Hangil family. Dajuan says that the guy's story is quite sad, but Dayob sternly reminds him that they are not heroes of justice and questions why they should help a guy who was in Haegwang. Take adds that while they do help the business owners of the neighborhood if they are in trouble, helping other runaways is a different story. Gaeong tells Dajuan that he joined the peaceful Hangil family as soon as he ran away, so he wouldn't know, but most of the runaways in that neighborhood are very dangerous. She shares that the first runaway family she joined was planning to sell her to a brothel, so she ran away from there as well. Dojin says he understands, but the guy he met hasn't been on the streets long and seems like a good person. Hangil tells Dajuan that while he may seem good, the only ones from that area that he can trust are the Hangil family. There is no one else he can trust. In the middle of the night, while all the Hangil family members sleep, Dajuan thinks about what they said. Maybe he shouldn't have said anything. Everything they said was right, but that guy, he wants him to be able to return to his family. The next day, we see Dajuan and the other two hiding behind a wall, keeping watch on a nightclub. They see an old, overweight man who is also a district representative, Kim Hyunchul. He is the one who commissioned the assault on Inhwan's father. Dajuan has one option. They can either persuade or threaten him to cancel the commission. They see Hyunchul entering the nightclub, and they decide to wait until he comes out. Inhwan suggests they go inside, but Dajuan reminds him that they are underage, and there's nothing they can do. However, they manage to get inside the nightclub using some fake IDs Inhwan has. The three of them try to find Hyunchul. Inside the club, we see Hyunchul, who is very drunk, surrounded by many girls in his room. He grabs two girls by the shoulders and tells them they have to drink until they die. Some girls are not interested because they don't like Hyunchul. He notices one girl who isn't drinking and asks her why. Another girl explains that the new girl worked last night and probably hasn't recovered. But Hyunchul ignores her and slaps the new girl, saying some nasty things. All the girls then leave the room, which Dajuan and the others notice as they hear the loud noise coming from inside. In the room, Hyunchul blames the bar director for not training the workers properly. Suddenly, the three of them enter the room, and Inhwan tells Hyunchul that they need to have a conversation. Hyunchul becomes angry. Inhwan tells him that he knows he is the one who commissioned Haegwang for the assault and demands that he cancels it right now, or they will blow the whole story up. But Hyunchul doesn't seem too afraid. Instead, he hurls some insults about Inhwan's father, which enrages Inhwan, who grabs his collar. But suddenly, the bar manager arrives and tells Dajuan and the others that they better let him go if they don't want to die. Hyunchul tells the manager to teach them a lesson, threatening never to come back if he doesn't. The manager apologizes to Hyunchul and tells Dajuan and the others to come with him. One of the guys with the manager says he can tell just by looking at them that they are underage, and the guards didn't check properly, so they got in. We can see Inhwan and Sungo trembling as they look at the manager and his men, realizing that they are not good at fighting. The manager then tries to punch Inhwan, but instead, Dajuan throws a straight punch at the manager, saving Inhwan. Dajuan is the first to jump into the fight. Inhwan tells Dajuan not to try to act tough and asks if he's confident he can win. Dajuan replies that he's not confident, but it's better for someone with experience to fight. He then gets into a fighting position. Another guy informs the manager that he checked with the counter, and it seems they used fake IDs to get in. Hearing this, the manager becomes furious, and it looks like things might get dangerous. The manager reflects that it's been a year since he started working there. Although he's the boss, there's something a little off about him, especially regarding money. When it comes to fighting, he shows no mercy to minors. He detests minors, and now he's confronted by one, Dajuan. The manager orders his men to drag Dajuan over to him. Two guys rush toward Dajuan to grab him, but Dajuan dodges their attacks, blocks them, and counterattacks by punching one of them in the face. He handles them one by one. Seeing Dajuan's fighting skills, Sungo is shocked. In the midst of the fight, the manager suddenly kicks Dajuan, causing him to fall to the ground. The kick is so hard that Dajuan is thrown back. The manager continues to kick him repeatedly, but Dajuan eventually blocks the attack with his hands. One of the manager's guys grabs Dajuan by the hair and the manager breaks a beer bottle trying to stab Dajun. At that moment, Dajun realizes the significant difference between adult gangsters and minors. A 3 versus 1 fight is nearly impossible. But suddenly, someone throws a bottle that hits the manager's hand, causing him to lose his grip. It's Sungo, who then punches the manager in the face. In-hwan and Sungo rush to save Dajun. Sungo tells Dajun that he doesn't know how much time he can buy him, but he'll try to hold one of them off. Even though he's trembling, he tries to help Dajun. Dajun stands up, and all 3 of them get ready to fight. Dajun thanks them but then pushes them aside, saying that since neither of them has ever fought before, he can't let them take on 2 guys. They both fight one guy while Dajun handles the manager and the other guy. The manager and his guy charge toward Dajun, and the fight begins. Adult gangsters definitely have higher endurance. Dajun realizes he can't do any damage unless he hits a vital spot. He has to find a way. These guys keep attacking him randomly with wide swings. Suddenly, Dajun remembers a fight against Iltak. He thinks that if they continue to underestimate him, he has to take advantage of that. Dajun throws a punch at one guy's jaw, and with just one punch, the guy is knocked out. Then Dajun tries to punch the manager, but the manager blocks the punch with his hand, grabs Dajun's fist, and punches him in the stomach. The hit is critical. Dajun notices that the manager is strong, and worse, he's no longer underestimating him. He knows Dajun is aiming for the chin, so he puts up a tight guard. The manager then lands a jab on Dajun's face. Dajun thinks about attacking the vital parts like the chin. He has to aim for it. He tries to cross his leg over the manager's, but the manager notices it and lifts his leg. The manager thinks this is his chance to hit Dajun, but Dajun remembers something from his training with Hangil. Hangil taught him that there's another vital part on the human body that's a weak spot, the solar plexus. If Dajun succeeds in hitting that spot, it would hurt the opponent more. He attacks the manager in that spot with a liver shot. The manager bends his knee, thinking that after all the attempts on his chin, Dajun switched to a liver shot. Hangil had taught him that no matter how strong the opponent is, there's always an equalizing shot. The manager tries to stand up again, but Dajun lands another liver shot, knocking the manager out. Dajun then turns to check on the others. In-hwan is shocked to see that Sungo has also beaten his opponent. Seeing this, Dajun thinks that Sungo isn't just a hard worker. He's also good at fighting, even though it's his first time. After defeating the manager and his goons, the 3 of them approach Hyunchul and try to threaten him. On the opposite side, the manager wakes up and stands. He can't believe he lost to some underage kids. Furious, he grabs a broken beer bottle and charges toward them to hit Dajun. But Sungo notices and steps between Dajun and the manager, saving Dajun. Dajun then punches the manager in the face, knocking him completely unconscious. Dajun notices that his hand is covered in blood. He then looks towards Sungo, who is bleeding with a broken beer bottle stuck in his back. Dajun and In-hwan are shocked to see Sungo covered in blood. Sungo then falls to the ground. Seeing so much blood, In-hwan is shocked. Dajun wakes him up and tells him to hurry up and take Sungo to the hospital while he stays behind. In-hwan pulls Sungo up and leaves. Dajun grabs Hyunchul by the collar and punches him repeatedly. After some time, Hyunchul begs him to stop. With anger in his eyes, Dajun tells him that he was holding himself back. So why did he instigate an assault on Representative Jung Byung-chul? Hyunchul trembles at the sight of Dajun. A few hours later, we see Sungo in a hospital, and Dajun arrives to check on him. Dajun asks if he's okay. Sungo replies that he's completely fine. Dajun tells him that none of his vital regions were pierced, but the doctor needs to keep him under observation. Dajun then asks with concern why Sungo did something so dangerous. Sungo replies that he doesn't know. He had always thought he was alone and only took care of himself, but his body moved on its own. He tells Dajun not to feel so bad. Sungo then asks Dajun to help In-hwan for him because he can't keep going with them, but he assures them he will join as soon as he recovers. Hearing this, Dajun and In-hwan smile. On the way out of the hospital, Dajun asks In-hwan how he paid the hospital fees since it must have been really expensive. In-hwan replies that it was fine. He was able to pay the fees with the money meant for the hired assault against his dad. Dajun thinks In-hwan was going to use that money to live on his own, but instead, He used it to help someone. Da-Juan thanks him. In-hwan then asks Da-Juan what happened with Hyunchul in the room. Da-Juan replies that Hyunchul confessed he tried to assault his father because his father caught on to the fact that he was stealing money from the district council budget. He was investigating, so Hyunchul used Haegwang to give him a warning. Da-Juan then threw him to the ground and told him to cancel the contract immediately. But Hyunchul said it wasn't easy to cancel. Da-Juan threatened him, saying that whether it was easy or not, he needed to cancel it. Otherwise, he would be the one who was assaulted. Da-Juan tells In-hwan that in order to cancel the contract, they have to meet with the Haegwang guy directly, and they need to go with Hyunchul. Da-Juan doesn't know what Hyunchul might say to them. He might convince them to target him, though Da-Juan did get his embezzlement evidence to prevent that. They have to make sure the contract is cancelled themselves. In-hwan suggests that he will go by himself since Sungo has already been hurt, and he doesn't want anyone else to get hurt. But Da-Juan insists that they have come this far, so they should finish it together. Da-Juan then places his hand on In-hwan's shoulder and reassures him not to worry. He has his own reasons for wanting to help. On the other side, we see Han-gil hiding near the alley, eavesdropping on their conversation. The next day, Han Young-min arrives at the bar where Da-Juan had been the night before. He asks the waiter where the others are. The waiter replies that they've hidden them from the police. At that moment, Young-min is on a call with Gangrak. He opens the door to a room and tells Gangrak that he thinks he understands why he wants to recruit the Han-gil family a bit more. He then checks the manager's wounds. The manager tells him that Da-Juan was not an ordinary guy. Young-min tells Gangrak that none of the guys have any fatal injuries. Young-min then asks what Gangrak's decision is on Da-Juan. Gangrak responds that Da-Juan is too soft, and they don't need guys like him in Haegwang. Meanwhile, at night, Da-Juan and In-hwan are with Hyunchul, heading to meet Haegwang directly. In-hwan doubts Hyunchul, thinking he might be suspicious, so he grabs Hyunchul's collar and questions him. Hyunchul says that they need to talk to Haegwang in person for their own security. Hyunchul warns them that after he cancels the contract, they should erase the embezzling evidence. In-hwan angrily responds that he won't let them get away with what happened to his father. Hyunchul says he doesn't want to meet that guy again. Da-Juan is confused about who he's talking about. When they arrive, they see a group of Haegwang thugs. In-hwan and Da-Juan hide in the bushes to observe the situation. Hyunchul approaches one guy and asks for a meeting, but the guy replies that his boss isn't there yet, so they need to wait. In-hwan wonders how many bases these Haegwang thugs have. Da-Juan notices there are about 5 guys there. Suddenly, Da-Juan spots a man with a spade. Seeing this man, all thoughts of making Haegwang surrender through strength melt away like snow. Da-Juan realizes that the pressure he feels is different from what he felt when facing Kiwoom. It's like facing a mountain beast. The man is Gangrak. Da-Juan is terrified at the sight of him and thinks that they need to forget about fighting him. They just need to confirm the contract's cancellation and get away. Gangrak tells Hyunchul that he was late because he had to take care of some business. Hyunchul says he wants to cancel the hired assault against Representative Young Byung-chul because it's gone far enough. Gangrak replies that it doesn't matter as long as he can pay the remaining balance. Even though he cancels the contract, he still needs to pay. Hyunchul thinks that if he doesn't end the transaction, the evidence will spread and he'll waste a lot of money. He has no choice but to pay the remaining fees. He agrees to pay the fees, but suddenly Gangrak brings up the embezzlement. Hearing this, Hyunchul wonders how Gangrak knows about it. He starts to worry about being blackmailed. However, Gangrak tells him that blackmailing depends. He'd rather do business. If Hyunchul pays them a portion of his embezzled money regularly, Haegwang will become his hands and feet. But Hyunchul tells him that others know about his embezzlement, and if they talk, he'll be finished. Gangrak reassures him that they'll prevent that from happening. He declares that from now on, anyone who knows about the embezzlement besides them or anyone who tries to investigate it will disappear. Even though the contract is cancelled, Representative Young Byung-chul will also be included. Hearing this, In-hwan becomes concerned for his father's safety. Suddenly, Gangrak says that the ones hiding there and threatening him with evidence will also be wiped out. At that moment, a group of bikers surrounds Da-Juan and In-hwan. Gangrak had already known they were hiding and listening to their conversation. In-hwan panicked and said that they were completely surrounded. But for Dajuan, the biggest problem was that they had to take on Gangrak. Gangrak ordered his men to bring them over and beat them. All the bikers closed in on them, but Dajuan pushed Inhwan aside to save him, facing numerous attacks in the process. The bikers rushed at such speed that Dajuan didn't even have a chance to fight back. Inhwan got injured and fell to the ground. Seeing the bikers approaching, Dajuan picked up a rock and threw it with full force toward them. The rock collided with one of the bikes, causing it to become unbalanced and crash. He then grabbed a steel rod and threw it into another bike's tire, causing that bike to crash as well. After beating some of the bikers, Dajuan ran toward Hyunchul. Dajuan thought that he at least had to grab Hyunchul as a hostage if they wanted to get out of there. But suddenly, someone threw a spade near them. It was Gangrak. Gangrak complimented Dajuan, saying he had a good move. Dajuan wondered if the mountain-like man knew he was from the Hangil family. Gangrak already knew they were coming. He said to Dajuan that it would take his men a while to handle someone of Dajuan's level, so he would take him on himself. Dajuan found himself in a panic. He couldn't avoid Gangrak, who seemed stronger than him. If Gangrak was as strong as Chun Ki-woong, the probability of surviving was slim. Dajuan thought that if he lost, it would be the end for both him and Inhwan. Suddenly, Gangrak threw a jab at Dajuan, but he blocked the attack with his arms. However, the force of the attack was so strong that it pushed Dajuan backward, causing him to collide with a tree. Even though he blocked the attack, Dajuan still felt pain in his arm and realized that the man he was facing was even more formidable than Chun Ki-woong. Gangrak approached Dajuan again, attempting to hit him on the head, but Dajuan stepped aside, dodging the attack. However, the punch landed on his leg, causing severe pain. Dajuan thought his leg might be broken. Gangrak then grabbed Dajuan's hair tightly, saying that he couldn't let him go because of what the Hangil family did to Ki-woong. He dragged Dajuan near a fire and tried to burn his face. As the fire came closer, Dajuan thought it was over for him and remembered every good thing he had done in his life as a runaway. But he wasn't ready to give up. Suddenly, he grabbed a piece of firewood and threw it at Gangrak's face. Dajuan then picked up the spade and declared that it wasn't his time to die. He attempted to attack with the spade, but Gangrak blocked it with one hand, broke the spade, and punched Dajuan in the face, causing him to fall down again. Gangrak was impressed that Dajuan had stuck his hand into the flames to try to survive. Looking at Dajuan, Gangrak told him that he had decided to finish him off but would give him one chance: join Haegwang. Dajuan refused, but Gangrak told him he had no other option: either join Haegwang or die. Gangrak added that he wouldn't just take Dajuan's word for it because, in this situation, Dajuan might lie to evade it. He would need proof. Gangrak then ordered his men to bring someone. One of the thugs opened a car and pulled out a man. It was the bar manager. Gangrak handed the spade to Dajuan and told him to bury the manager alive. If Dajuan wanted to live, he would need to get his hands dirty. Dajuan looked at the manager and thought that if he didn't do it, he would die. Dajuan then remembered that the manager had stabbed Sungo. He attacked the manager, but instead of targeting him directly, he struck near the manager's head, terrifying him. Dajuan then assumed a fighting stance again and declared that no matter how much he wanted to live, he would never become like Haegwang. Suddenly, Gangrak punched him, knocking him unconscious. When Dajuan opened his eyes, he found himself in a ditch, with thugs shoveling soil over him, burying him alive. Half of his body was already inside the soil. He started to remember the good moments he had with the Hangil family and thought that this was the end for him. He would miss the Hangil family. But suddenly, someone fell near Dajuan, and he saw that Hangil had come to save him. Hangil took Dajuan out of the soil and asked him how it felt to lose. Dajuan smiled, but soon, more Haegwang thugs arrived, armed with weapons. One of them approached Hangil and tried to hit him with a rod, but Hangil grabbed the rod and kicked him in the face. He then proceeded to beat up all the thugs one by one. Dajuan stood up, happy to see Hangil in that situation. Meanwhile, Inhwan was shocked and excited to meet Hangil face to face, something he never expected. Dajuan asked Hangil how he found him. Hangil replied that he had noticed Dajuan was doing some strange things without informing the Hangil family, so he secretly followed him. While keeping watch, Hangil ran into one of Haegwang's lackeys and lost track of Dajuan when he dealt with him. He later found Dajuan by following the loud motorcycle sounds. Hangil then asked Dajuan why they had come there. Dajuan explained that Inhwan's father was in danger, so he was trying to help. Dajuan then asked where the Haegwang executive and district representative Hyunchul had gone. Hangil replied that there was no one like that when he arrived. Dajuan suddenly grabbed one of the lackeys by the jaw and demanded to know where they went. The thug replied that after ordering them to bury Dajuan and the manager, they had left a long time ago, but he didn't know where they had gone. He accidentally mentioned the Haegwang executive's name, Bae Dae-yob. Upon hearing that name, Hangil's expression changed as he thought about something. He then told Dajuan to step aside and instructed the thug to tell Gangrak that he had fulfilled his task of burying Yim Dajuan and not to mention that Hangil was there. He should pretend not to have seen him. The thug protested, saying that if Gangrak found out he was lying, he'd be killed. Hangil then kicked the thug into the ditch and warned him that he should fear Cho Hangil just as much as Gangrak. After that, Dajuan and Inhwan sat at a table with Hangil and drank cold drinks. Inhwan was so excited that he took a selfie with Hangil, who even signed his hand. Dajuan told Hangil that in order to save Inhwan's father and get him back home, they needed to take down Bae Gangrak. Dajuan asked for Hangil's help. Inhwan quickly added that it was okay, and Hangil didn't need to involve himself. Suddenly, Hangil pulled Dajuan aside, away from Inhwan, and told him that he couldn't beat Gangrak. Hangil warned Dajuan not to involve himself with Inhwan's problem. Since Gangrak believed Dajuan was dead, there shouldn't be any further issues. Dajuan replied that even if he couldn't beat Gangrak, Hangil could easily take him down. But Hangil explained that he couldn't touch Gangrak because doing so would escalate the fight beyond just the two of them. For everyone's sake, Hangil suggested that Dajuan should step back. Dajuan became upset, unsure of what to do since Hangil wouldn't help him. Hangil advised Dajuan not to involve himself with other runaways, as that world wasn't meant for someone sympathetic like him. Dajuan then suddenly asked Hangil why he had helped him and what the difference was between him and Inhwan. Hangil smirked, leaving Dajuan without an answer, saying he could do what he wanted, but Hangil wouldn't involve himself any further. The next day, Dajuan stood on a rooftop, pondering that even though they needed to beat Bae Gangrak, there was no way to win. Dajuan couldn't even begin to figure out how to defeat him. He also wondered how Gangrak had known they were there, as they had kept District Representative Hyunchul with them the whole time. Suddenly, Dajuan's phone rang, and it was Sungo. Sungo asked how he was feeling. He had heard from Inhwan that they had run into some incredible guy and nearly died. Dajuan replied that Gangrak was a lot more dangerous than they had thought and told Sungo he didn't need to come, as he might get injured again. Sungo assured Dajuan that he was better now and wanted to help Inhwan. Suddenly, Taek appeared behind Dajuan and asked if he was on the phone. Dajuan quickly ended the call. Taek asked who he was talking to, and Dajuan replied that it was just a part-timer who worked with him. Suddenly, Taek threw a punch at Dajuan, but Dajuan blocked it with his hand, though it still hurt. He wondered why Taek was suddenly attacking him, especially with his injured arm. Taek told him that he had heard from Hangil that Dajuan had been meddling around lately and wanted to fight the Haegwang executive. Taek explained that the Haegwang executives weren't ordinary people, and if Dajuan wanted to talk about being able to fight them, he would first have to be able to beat an injured version of Taek. Dajuan was shocked to see that other Hangil family members had also come, and he realized he would have to fight them if he wanted to take on the Haegwang executives. The morning after the fight with Bae Gangrak, Hangil told Taek that Dajuan wanted to fight a Haegwang executive alone, and they both laughed about it. Hangil told Taek to knock some sense into Dajuan so he wouldn't go looking for a fight. On the rooftop, Dajuan admitted that there was no way he could win against them. Taek asked him how he planned on beating Gangrak then. Dajuan was visibly upset. Taek told him that if he was going to stir up trouble without any plan, then he needed to convince them with his skills. He had to beat one of them. But Dajuan was still thinking about taking on Gangrak. Dajuan's first fight was against Gaeong. She rushed toward him, but Dajuan wasn't ready for the fight and didn't want to hit her. However, when she got close, she hit him in the face. Dajuan kept taking hits repeatedly, realizing that if he just kept getting hit, he might die before even meeting Gangrak. He only had one move that she had taught him: tackle and overpower her without hitting her because he didn't want to hurt her. Dajuan performed the move and tackled her, but it wasn't effective because she knew how to counter that attack. She grabbed Dajun from behind and flipped him 180 degrees. She was especially skilled in wrestling. Dajun was knocked out and lost his first fight against Hong Gaeong. After a 30-minute break, the second opponent was Ha Sung-bin. He told Dajun that it was better to give up, but Dajun didn't want to because he had already lost to Gaeong. This time, Dajun was determined to win. He threw a straight jab at Sung-bin, but Sung-bin stepped back and dodged it. Dajun continued to attack, but he couldn't land a single hit. Sung-bin was especially good at boxing, and after Dajun let his guard down, Sung-bin threw countless punches in just a second, causing Dajun to fall to the ground again. Sung-bin told him that he didn't know anything about this place, and Dajun lost his second fight against Ha Sung-bin. After another break, the third fight was against Kim Taek. Dajun thought this was his last chance because fighting against an injured person was the best chance he had at winning. But when he saw Taek, he felt the same pressure as when he faced Bae Gangrak. Dajun approached Taek and tried to hit him, but Taek blocked every punch and suddenly performed a vertical kick, hitting Dajun's head. Kim Taek was especially good at kickboxing. With just one attack, Dajun was knocked out, and he lost his third fight against Kim Taek. The final opponent was Cha Daeob, who was especially skilled in judo. He grabbed Dajun's arm when Dajun tried to punch, and with just his hand, he flipped Dajun's entire body down. Daeob asked Dajun if he really believed he could take on Bae Gangrak without any repercussions with his current skill level. Dajun closed his eyes, realizing that the rest of the Hangil family could be put at risk because of him. Dajun then stood up and told everyone that he understood now and would stop trying to take down Bae Gangrak for now. He told Daeob that he was just like him. He couldn't just pass by someone who needed help. When he helped Nian, he felt like he could change someone's life by stepping up and not ignoring people like him. That became his purpose after getting his revenge. Dajun told them that in order to do that, he needed to become strong enough where he wouldn't put his guys at risk, so he asked them to teach him how to fight so he could win against Bae Gangrak. Hearing this, Daeob tried to hit him again, but Taek stopped him and told him they would help train Dajun to fight Bae Gangrak. Taek told Dajun that his current skill level wasn't enough, but his determination made them want to believe in him. Skill-wise, he could get stronger by learning from other Hangil family members. Taek also told Dajun that they also planned on fighting Bae Gangrak. The fight with Bae Gangrak was already determined from the start. Hangil had told Taek that he was checking them out. If they just sat silently, they would get hurt like they did with Kiwoom. Hangil was stuck in a personal situation where he couldn't touch Bae Gangrak. Hangil told Taek that he wasn't planning on sending Dajun, but Dajun had stubbornly insisted on taking down Bae Gangrak, which is why Hangil had Taek test Dajun. Taek told Dajun to be prepared because they were going to put him through harsh training to get him strong enough. Taek also told Dajun that Hangil mentioned those guys had already infiltrated them, particularly noting that Dajun was in the most danger. Hangil had found out that the two guys Dajun had met recently, Yong In-hwan and Moon Sungo, one of them was a spy from Haegwang. Upon hearing this, Dajun was shocked. In the next scene, we see Gangrak's place, where that spy came to report the situation.